Yes, hello and welcome along to EPLW. This is an England squad selection special. We're 3 months away from the next tournament, so we thought it might be a good idea to have a look at who we think should be in that all-important England squad for Euro 2020. I've got a couple of our EPL regular experts here to help me out, Ronan and Mus. How are you guys doing? Excited for the delayed Euro 2020? Ronan, do England stand a chance at this tournament?
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say, Joe, it seems a bit unusual picking an England squad on St. Patrick's Day for me, but that aside, but yeah, no, I think England stand a great chance. Great young players coming through, so why not? Absolutely.
Yeah, Mus, what is it you love so much about international tournaments and especially the Euros?
Evening, everyone. Firstly, thanks for the call up, Joe. I'm delighted to have made the squad. I thought Roz is unlucky not to have made the selection, but hopefully next time he'll be on the plane. Yeah, I'm really excited. I think it's kind of like the whole nation really, like the mood lifts whenever England or one of the home nations are playing and playing well. And I think we all remember that summer of 2018 during the World Cup. It seemed like kind of magical. You know, the weather was good, the results were good, everyone was in a good mood. So I'm hoping for more of the same, really. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
Okay, great. You mentioned Roz. Big shouts to Roz, who helped me develop our EPLW squad selector, which we're going to introduce our viewers to in just a minute. He is benched this week for disciplinary reasons, and that's why we've subbed Mus in, but we won't go into that right now. He said he'll join us in the comments. So let's see what happens, shall we? Right, remember you can support us on Patreon. Just head to patreon.com/Joe Carter EPLW. You can also follow us on Twitter at EPLW Pod to keep up to date with everything we're doing. Subscribe to this channel and allow notifications to make sure you never miss a beat. Right, should we talk ball, lads? Should we get onto this selector? And where better to start with than goalkeepers, I guess. So here is our fantastic selector. As you can see, we've listed all of the players that we believe are in contention. If you disagree, get in the comments and let us know. Also, you know, Ronan and Mus, if you're not sure if I've got them all there completely, let me know. As you can see, Gareth Southgate's got his clipboard out on the right of the screen, and we're ready to go. So yeah, let's start with the keepers, shall we? Is it obvious, the keeper argument here, Ronan? Pickford?
Yeah, I mean, I think those the top three there, Pickford, Pope, and Henderson, I think are definitely the front runners. I don't think any of the others have maybe done enough to displace them, but yeah, Pickford for me definitely in the squad.
Yeah, and Mus, do you agree with that one?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's pretty straightforward that it's those three. I think just a word on Sam Johnston, because I think although his team, West Brom, have been having a difficult season, individually he's having a really impressive one. He's made the most saves in the Premier League, I think 113 saves. So statistically, he's been the busiest, and I guess in terms of ratios of saves to concessions, he's doing a good job, but probably one for the future. I think this is a open and shut case.
Yeah, so goalkeeper's pretty nailed on. We're going Pickford, Pope, and Henderson.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that was easy. Hopefully there's a bit more contentious kind of decision making and debate to come in the rest of the squad. So 3 keepers, that's nailed on. Defenders then. So who for you guys has been sort of standout England defenders throughout this season and leading up to this, and who can bring the most to this team? Ronan?
Yeah, I mean, this season I'm not sure there's many particular standout. I think it's nice to see John Stones coming back to form, getting more time, more minutes with City, and a lot of clean sheets this season. So I think that's been refreshing, because it looked like he was sort of a little bit away from the first team for a while. So I think I'd have him in there. I think Luke Shaw as well, similarly, has been fantastic. Again, another one who had sort of drifted away from the team. I think he's right back in contention. So yeah, nice seeing those two returning to form.
And Mus, anything to add there? Any standouts for you?
Yeah, I think Ronan's right. John Stones is the standout. I think I saw a statistic that in his last 17 Premier League starts for City, they've kept 14 clean sheets in those games. and in that period, he scored more than they conceded, 4-3. So that's pretty impressive. I think aside from John Stones, I'd say Tyrone Mings is also having a good season. So he's definitely there on merit in terms of central defenders. I think his partner Ezri Konsa is probably again one for the future, and probably doesn't make the cut this time around. But collectively, as a partnership, as a pairing, they've been great for Aston Villa.
Okay, so we're kind of agreed on John Stones from that. So should we get Stonesy in?
Let's do it.
Let's get John Stones in, first defender on the on Gareth's clipboard there. Just while we started, Roz has got involved in the comments straight away, predictably. He said, Joe wouldn't let me on due to my Scottish blood. So let's...
That makes sense, yeah. I thought Roz would do a Shea Adams.
Yeah, Shea Adams. Yeah, good shout there for Scotland. But let's talk, so more defenders. Excuse me, this is a bit freewheeling. We've never done this sort of thing before, so we're sucking it and we're seeing. Harry Maguire, surely, if we're talking centre-backs. I mean, I know you said Mings, Ronan, if you had to choose between Mings and Maguire for England based on, current form, who's it going to be?
To be honest, I'll bring them both. I think they're two of the better centre halves. I think Maguire's got to be in the squad. Good experience in the last tournament. He's been kind of ever present for England, really. So I'd bring both, to be honest. And
Mus, any objections to those two?
No, no. I think so. Maguire will, whether we like it or not, he'll make it into the squad. I think, on balance, given his history of the national team, he probably deserves to go and offers valuable experience. Tyrone Mings gives you, a left footer, which offers balance should you need it, and a bit of pace, which Stones and Maguire probably lack. So I agree. I'd take both.
Okay, so let's stick Mings in then, shall we? So we've got. So far, we've got a nice solid foundation to build on here. Pickford, Pope and Henderson are three keepers. And then three centre-backs, Stones, Maguire and Mings. Okay, let's talk. I mean, presumably, we're looking at a back three with wing-backs here. Who are those key players to go into those positions? But, Ronan, I see you shaking your head there. Are you thinking kind of at a tournament, maybe you need something a bit different? You need to be offered dynamism?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not convinced with the three at the back, or the five at the back, however you look at it, formation really. If we look at the players, well, the defenders we've put in so far, none of them play in a back three. I'm not convinced it gets the best out. It gets the best out of our attacking players either. So it's nice to have the option, but I'm not big on the back three for England at the moment with the players that we've got.
Fair enough. Well, looking at the defenders we've picked, and Roz is in the comments again. I mean, he said he wasn't available, but he seems to be quite available in the comments. He says Tyrone Mings is 5 times the player that Harry Maguire is. Hopefully Maguire loses his plane ticket. Yeah, I think we can all get on board with that. So, Ronan, if you're not kind of convinced with the back 5, then who are you saying does the job in those kind of left back, right back areas?
Yeah, I mean, I'd go 4 at the back. Left back, I think Luke Shaw's been fantastic this season and kind of deserves to be there. And Chilwell, I mean, as well, it's been solid, if not spectacular for Chelsea this season. So I think left back, I wouldn't look past those two.
Yeah, Mus, are you inclined to agree with Ronan there?
Sorry, that was Gareth calling. Yes, I agree. And obviously we'll get into it kind of with the midfielders, because you've got some players who can play wing back in that bracket. But I think Ben Chilwell and Luke Shaw. Well, to be honest, Luke Shaw, I'm a bit doubtful on, because I know he's had a good season, but I think there are other fullbacks ahead of him, and I think this is a kind of where injury I think will take course, because I think someone like James Justin was having a really good season, in with a shout, but I think injuries obviously derailed that.
Yeah.
I'd say Kieran Trippier is, by all accounts, is having a great season out in Madrid, and has valuable experience. So as far as
And he's got a free kick on him as well, hasn't he, Trippier?
exactly, yeah. So yeah. So he offers that. And speaking of kind of set piece delivery, although he hasn't had the best season, I imagine Trent Alexander-Arnold should also be included.
Do you reckon? So you're both kind of agreeing again so you're agreeing Shaw and Chilwell for kind of to cover the left side, or what are you saying? One or both?
Yeah, but sounds like Shaw's up for discussion. Maybe we stick him in for now, and then I guess we can always take him out when we come to look at the midfielders potentially.
Good shout. And Chilwell, I mean, he's got to go, hasn't he, Chilwell?
Yeah, I think Chilwell should go. I think the right back slot is like the most competitive position in like English history, isn't it? You've got obviously Alexander-Arnold, Walker, James, Trippier, Wan-Bissaka. Yeah, luxury of riches there, really.
Okay, so for argument's sake, Ronan, you've got to take two of those right backs. Who's it going to be and why?
Yeah, I mean, I'd take Alexander-Arnold. I know, Liverpool, and he hasn't had the best season, but over the last couple of years, he's been fantastic. He's got that dynamism. I think it'd be harsh to leave him out. Obviously, you've got to look at the rest of the season and how he plays and who's on form coming up to the tournament. But on balance, I'd take Alexander-Arnold. Walker, there's kind of an argument if they do play the three at the back, then Walker can slot in there. But not sure. James has been good for Chelsea. So yeah, it's a tough one for me. I would take Alexander-Arnold though. I think he'd be a definite for me.
Really? After the season,
Yeah.
I mean, we discussed in a previous EPLW episode that he is top of the charts for most times conceded possession in the Premier League this season, and at an international level, surely that's not what you need, is it, Miss?
No, absolutely not. You at whatever level you want to retain the ball, you want to be able to find your teammates, and I think he's not had the best season. But he's got credit in the bank. He'd be going in based on his the high level that he's performed at over the last couple of seasons. But I think Reece James has clearly had a better season, and also just a word on Aaron Wan-Bissaka, because statistically, no defender has made more interceptions and tackles than him since 2016. But even he can't get a looking, and he's looking to potentially, kind of take up a position in the DRC squad. And in some ways, that will make Gareth Southgate's life a bit easier. Just
yeah, I mean, is there? I mean, the argument is then that who is the more who's the more flexible option? So I think I'm right in thinking that both of you are sort of agreed on Trent going in as kind of number one right back. Well, then who gives the option? Who gives the other option? If Trent is the bombing forward, early delivery, set piece threat, then what do you need from your backup right back, and who is that?
I think probably Walker offers more flexibility in that he can play, in the three at the back if they do decide to go that way, or if they need to go that way throughout the tournament, more so than James. But James has had a great season, so it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I think Wan-Bissaka maybe was not favoured by Gareth, but he just hasn't had a look in so far. So I think he'd be a long shot to get in at the minute.
I want to know who you want to take, though. I don't care what Gareth Southgate thinks. I want to know, who are you taking?
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably on balance take Walker just on his experience. I think throughout the rest of the squad, there's going to be a lot of young players with not a lot of experience, and I don't think it's any harm to have someone that's got a lot of caps and is a little bit older in there. So I'd probably sacrifice a little bit of the youth, James on that basis to add a bit of more of an old head in the squad.
I mean, you want winners in the squad. Also, you want, when you're talking of experience, don't you want someone who's experienced doing well? You don't want someone who's experienced potentially not doing well with England. So
I mean, Walker's done well. What in terms of? I mean, he's I think with the in a squad. I mean, looking at the sort of the forward-minded players, I'm more inclined to look at sort of youth and form. I think with the defensive-minded players, it's a little bit more important to have that experience there, particularly Champions League and international experience. I know James has had this season, but Walker's had years playing for England and playing in the Champions League. And yeah, defensively, I'd favour that over another youthful option at right back.
okay, do you agree with Ronan? Can you offer like a case for Reece James, who's frankly been outstanding and something of an unknown quantity, which also helps at this sort of tournament, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I was going to make a case for Reece James, and I was leaning towards Reece James over Kyle Walker, but actually Ronan's just convinced me there. But I think so. Reece James probably offers better defensive solidity from what I've seen, and he's. Kyle Walker kind of has these lapses in concentration and positionally can often be caught out. Whereas Reece James is pretty solid defensively, and his crossing is a lot better when he moves forward. That said, looking at his few England caps, I think he already has one sending off to his name, and maybe that the lack of experience will count against him. And I can see what Ronan is saying. So yeah, I think on balance, Kyle Walker's probably the safer option. So yeah.
Okay, so say we put Kyle Walker in. Let's just do it. We can always change this around later. But so as it stands, I mean, we've got 7 defenders in there, which is leaving 13 places now for midfields, forwards. I mean, we've lumped a load of midfielders into forwards because they're the way the lineup looks usually is that you're looking at midfielders as central players and forwards as wide players. But so we're looking at leaving out, Eric Dyer, a favourite of Southgate, Kieran Trippier, smashing it up in Madrid, as you said, Michael Keane, Reece James, Connor Cody, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. These players are all being left at home in the Novotel, according to you guys. Is that looking at a toast rack when they wake up in the morning, not a tactical analysis sheet? That was an awful joke. Sorry. How do you feel about that? Is there nothing? Is that not on your conscience that you're leaving that caliber of player at home?
No, I think I think there's some of the season left to be played, and I think if Alexander-Arnold doesn't regain some form and James is smashing it, then there's a case there for changing it. Trippier's banned; he's out at the minute, isn't he? He's banned for a while.
Yeah, well, for betting on his own transfer. Yeah.
Yeah, so don't feel that guilty about him missing out, to be honest. Yeah, I think it's okay for now. Dyer, you mentioned, I mean, potentially it's one we might come back to. There's 3 centre backs in there at the minute. Walker could potentially play in there, but Dyer could play in there and he could play holding midfield. So he's one that potentially we might come back to as a utility player. Okay,
right. What I'm going to do then is leave a little gap in the list, and we're going to move on to what we've labelled the midfielder section. So as you can see in this yellow midfielder section, we've got Declan Rice, Mason Mount, Jordan Henderson, Jack Grealish, Phil Foden, James Maddison, Calvin Phillips, Bukayo Saka, Jude Bellingham, and James Ward-Prowse. Now, looking at that list of players gets me a little bit excited for the future of England. But in terms of 3 months' time, who's ready to go and who's ready to play at this tournament, Ronan? Who's your number one? I just want one player out of there that has to go. Not one. Just choose one.
There's a lot of them has to go. I think if I first name that stands out for me, I think Phil Foden. I'd pick. I think he's got that spark that has the potential to really set a tournament alight. But yeah, there's a lot of names on there. I'll bring, yeah. So
Phil Foden's number one on Ronan's list. Mus, who's number one on your sort of midfielders list, the yellow list?
So Foden aside, I think Bukayo Saka probably offers another really exciting kind of young left-footed prospect. But I'd go for Declan Rice. I think he offers something that we've not really had in previous tournaments with Jordan Henderson. He's a mobile holding midfielder that can carry the ball forwards and pass it pretty effectively. Not to kind of take anything away from the alternatives, but I've been impressed with him this season. I think he's nailed down that spot.
So Declan Rice and Phil Foden, are you in agreement with each other that those two should go?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Let's bang them in then, lads. Let's get them in there, shall we? Declan Rice is going in. We're leaving a little gap in case you want to take another defender. And Phil Foden, two players who have been absolutely superb, standout players in the Premier League this season. Okay, now it gets a little bit more tricky because we're looking at, who are you definitely leaving out of those yellows? One or two players?
Yeah, so I think I think James Ward-Prowse probably is unfortunate to miss out, but I think him and Calvin Phillips I'd probably struggle to make a case for, and that's just testament to the quality of the alternatives. There's that group, the Grealish, Mount, Foden. Foden, forget Madison, and I can't really. It's like splitting hairs really with those guys. But I think Ward-Prowse and Calvin Phillips are just maybe a couple of steps below, and I wouldn't feel that guilty.
So you're saying you'd sooner take Jude Bellingham than Ward-Prowse? The 17-year-old playing in the Bundesliga, but.
I think that's the reality that, if you're a 17-year-old and you're playing in the Champions League quarter-final and week in, week out for a top European side, and also he's kind of more, sorry, I'm just getting, seeing the messages from Rowan, he's not happy, from Roz, he's not happy, but no, I mean, I think in terms of delivery, which is obviously what James Ward-Prowse offers as his kind of unique asset. I think you get that from.
I just need to confirm what Roz is saying in the comments. Just can't leave out Ward-Prowse offers something none of the others have in his delivery. Shocking form, he says.
But it's that trade-off, though. So Roz was saying earlier in the comments that you don't need two left backs if you have Saka in the squad. Similarly, do you really need a set piece specialist if you have, say, Trent Alexander-Arnold or Trippier, for example, if we are going to take Kieran Trippier? But you can get that from elsewhere. Other than that, is he really offering something else that Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham don't have? I'm not sure he is necessarily.
Plenty of set piece talent in that, potentially in the squad, whatever squad it ends up being. Ronan, are you sort of in agreement with Miss there, or is there someone, do you agree with Roz? Ward-Prowse has to go. Is that a diamond?
Yeah, I mean, if I was to leave one of them out, I'd leave Phillips out, just based on experience at this point. Yeah, I mean, Ward-Prowse or Bellingham. If I had to pick one, I'd go Bellingham. He's young, but he's a wild card. He's on form right now. Why not take him? Why not put him in the squad? Take him. It's good for his experience. There's a lot of other, countries that have won, tournaments taking. I remember Brazil with the young Ronaldo in the squad. There's been loads of examples, but the only case for not taking him would be if you had a really solid alternative there that's going to add, real value to the squad, either in experience or in the options that they can bring. Ward-Prowse, I can't see him getting into this team with the midfield talent that's available, and therefore I think to take a punt and bring Bellingham along.
Fair enough. Okay, so you're both sort of saying to me that you are wanting to bring Jude Bellingham. Should we do that now? Should we lock it in, or should we go?
I think let's get him down, and then if I guess as we go through the list, we can always revisit. But I'll be happy taking him.
All right, Jude Bellingham's in there. So midfield wise, what have we got left? Mason Mount, Jordan Henderson. I mean, Jack Grealish, James Maddison, Bukayo Saka?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll take all of them. So you got Mount definitely, Henderson. Yes, I mean he's captain, isn't he? He's done it. He's done it all. He's got that Champions League experience, and the leadership angle. Grealish. Yes, fantastic season. I think he was great for England when he when Southgate put him in finally.
Yeah, most chances created so far this season in the Premier League. Jack Grealish. He's ahead of the likes of De Bruyne. He's ahead of his fellow countrymen, Maddison and Mount. Grealish is surely sort of the banker number 10, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But will it happen, Miss? Will it happen? Does that matter? It's kind of up to us. We're picking our team. Who are you putting in?
I would take Grealish, Mount, and Maddison. Henderson, I think.
This sounds like it's going to get a bit controversial. Go on, finally some controversy.
So I just think when I was mentioning Aaron Wan-Bissaka earlier, I feel like there's such an embarrassment of riches that sometimes some of the external factors will hopefully make Southgate's decision a bit more straightforward. And I think Henderson's had a pretty awful season. He's played out of position most weeks when he has played. He's got a serious injury at the moment. I think he'd only be there as one of the senior players. I just think, if he misses out because he's not fit, not available, then I think that's just one less headache, because on talent, there's enough there without him in midfield.
Interesting. I look forward to Roz's comments on this one. I'm keeping an eye on the YouTube comments here for Roz. Ronan, do you want to come back on that at all? Mus wants to leave Henderson out.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he's fit, I'd take him. But based on his experience, I mean, there's not many defensive minded midfielders in there apart from Declan Rice, and I think he's a bit young to just carry all of that on his shoulders as the only sort of holding midfielder in the squad. So if Henderson was fit, I'd take him. But we can crack on and see where we land, I guess.
I would just come back on that, say, Declan Rice is, despite his tender years, is captain of West Ham and has, eased Noble out of that position, a senior player that's kind of been pushed to one side to make way for Declan Rice, who stepped up to that responsibility. And Bellingham as well. Whenever I watch a Dortmund game, I'm always shocked to see the speed of his recovery runs. He's always that midfielder who is tracking back.
He's one of the faster players in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I like Rice. I'd no issue playing with him. I just think he might need someone, back up that, that has that more experience. There is that if we want to potentially in some games have two defensive, minded midfielders in there. I just don't think it would be any harm taking Jordan Henderson at all.
We'll come back to this, but so I've put Grealish in because I'm pretty sure you guys both agree on that. So far, our midfield contingent is Declan Rice, Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham, and Jack Grealish. Jordan Henderson, jury's out on him. James Ward-Prowse and Calvin Phillips looked like they're not going at all, according to you guys. Mason Mount, James Maddison, and Bukayo Saka. Then, kind of weird that we lumped him in with the midfielder Saka because he's a utility player. He could be in any position, except for goalkeeper, obviously. Let's talk about Bukayo Saka.
Yeah, I mean, I'd definitely take Saka. I think he's had a phenomenal season with Arsenal, and he is a utility player, like you say. He can pretty much play anywhere. He can create. He can play in that attacking midfield place. He could even go, left back. He's got experience there. So potentially, he could fill in for one of Shaw or Chilwell if we take them out. So yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons to take Saka.
So, Ronan, you see Saka as like a squad player then, essentially a backup for a few different positions. Mus, do you think he has a more predominant sort of pertinent role in the team other than that?
No, not necessarily. I think, when you're taking a squad to a major tournament, you need the kind of players on which you can pivot and change your style of play. And I think he would be one of those. So he may not be the starting 11. Yeah, he may not be in the starting 11 when you're trying to play a possession-based game against one of the bigger teams. But
Mate, he plays a possession-based game with Arteta for Arsenal, week in, week out. It's his bread and butter.
fair enough. But
My argument is that isn't Saka actually in contention for a starting berth in this 11? Cue the tumbleweed.
Well, I just think the way that Southgate likes to play with the three, and when he has played.
This isn't about Southgate. We're not predicting Southgate's squad. We're deciding who we're taking.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So independent of whatever Southgate thinks, I think with the talent that you have up front and the likelihood of playing three up front, I just don't think Saka gets into the midfield positions or will take one of the front three positions.
Another one I'm looking forward to hearing from Roz about in the comments. He says, agree with Ronan. Can't put your defensive hopes on a kid in Declan Rice or a West Ham player. He says, saying that if Adams can be Scottish, Souček could be English. Maybe we could bring Souček in as well. Yeah. Okay, so we're agreeing that Saka's in the squad, it seems.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's bung him in. So then it's kind of a case of, right, hang on. Before I put Saka in the squad, if we're putting Saka in, do we need to be taking two left backs? Do we need to be taking Chilwell and Shaw if we're trying to cover that position? What's the point in taking both of those guys if you're going to take Saka?
Yeah, there is a case. There is a case for that. I wouldn't be against taking one of them out.
Yeah, I wouldn't take Luke Shaw, if I'm honest. I agree with Roz in the comments. You don't need to take two left backs if you've got Saka. You also have Tyrone Mings, for example, who could play as a left-sided centre back in a back three. So yeah, let's make room for more of the midfield forward talent, of which there's plenty.
Okay,
yeah, I'm happy with that.
So Saka out, Saka in, sorry, and Luke Shaw out. Oh, cold-hearted killers, you guys. Right, let's tidy that up a bit. Okay, so now our defence looks like this: John Stones, Harry Maguire, Tyrone Mings, Kyle Walker, Ben Chilwell, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Saka's in there to cover defensively. We've got Declan Rice, Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham. So far, our surprise inclusion, if you ask me, and Jack Grealish. Have we got space for a couple more midfielders, lads, or should we get onto the green forward section?
No, I think we've definitely got space. I think Mason Mount's got to go. He's been fantastic. Chelsea and England when he's played. I'd 100% take Mason Mount.
So over Maddison. If I say to you guys, both of you now, Mount or Maddison, who and why?
Both. Take both. Yeah, I wouldn't
Take
leave
both.
one out. Yeah.
Okay. We're not gonna end up eating our words here. You sure? Let's see. Right. Let's get Mount in and Maddison in. Okay. Right. So James Ward-Prowse, Calvin Phillips, and Jordan Henderson, as it stands, are back in the Novotel, waiting for their Ubers home. Right. Forwards then. Right. Where do we start? Obviously, we're putting Harry Kane in, I assume, so I'll bang him straight in. After that, are we looking at... Now we're looking at potentially 5, maybe 6 berths between these players. Sancho, Sterling, Rashford, Calvert-Lewin, Greenwood, Abraham, Ings, Hudson-Odoi, Barnes, Bamford, Watkins, and if we could tempt him out of retirement, Jamie Vardy. Who stands out to you after Kane? I want a player each. Come on. Mus, who have you got?
So I love how you put Vardy on here as if he's going to do a Zlatan and come out of retirement. I just don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. I think everyone from Dominic Calvert-Lewin downwards, I would happily leave out of the squad.
Okay, so you're saying Sancho, Sterling, Rashford, and Calvert-Lewin in, or Calvert-Lewin out?
Yeah, Calvert-Lewin in. So those 4 would be my first.
And you'd be leaving out Greenwood, Abraham, Ings, Hudson-Odoi, Barnes, Bamford, Watkins, and Jamie Vardy. Surely Jamie Vardy, if we could tempt it, let's play devil's advocate. We can tempt Jamie Vardy out of retirement. Doesn't he bring that atmosphere into the dressing room that you need? That like X factor, the Gaza at Euro '96, you know, the no one at World Cup 2002. You know?
Yeah, the vodka and the Skittles, and so actually one of the things I really like about this England squad and this generation of players is that it's not as cliquey as we're led to believe previous generations have been. There's less of the kind of inter-club rivalry. Many of them are like best friends, grew up together. Mason Mount, Declan Rice, famously, Chilwell, Grealish, Madison, all like holiday together, and that's nice to have that to have that core to actually get on. And I think you don't need to upset the apple cart by inviting a maverick like Vardy into the squad.
What do you reckon, Ronan?
I agree. I mean, he didn't have a particularly special, partnership with Harry Kane when he did play for England. So, yeah, I wouldn't bring Vardy. I'd look forward. I'd agree. It must. Sancho, Sterling, Rashford's got to go. Calvert-Lewin, I would take over Tammy Abraham, but it's not much in it.
What does Ronan? What does Calvert-Lewin offer then? That presumably you're thinking of Calvert-Lewin as a number 9, and you're thinking of Harry Kane as a number 9. What does Calvert-Lewin bring that gives us a different option if we need something a bit different in the game? What does Calvert-Lewin do that Harry Kane can't do? Why is he in the squad?
I mean, Kane is sort of streets ahead of Calvert-Lewin. I'd have Calvert-Lewin in there as kind of a backup, but again, not one that I would be, distraught if we took out in favour of other options around the pitch. Looking at the rest though, Greenwood, Ings, Barnes could potentially make a late claim. He's had a great season, but I think he's probably a little bit too far away at the moment.
Yeah, we're going to get to that point soon where it's going to get to those marginal calls on like who gets in, who's going to be lucky enough to be on the plane to Gatwick, from Gatwick to Luton, for the big games at Wembley. Mus, so you're championing DCL as well. Does he bring anything different from Harry Kane? Does he bring us an option? Does he bring us a bit of height, a bit of aerial ability maybe that Kane kind of is a bit of an all-rounder, isn't he? So it's hard to kind of look past him. But if Kane is injured, do we then need to bring 2 number 9s to cover that? Say we're at the tournament, Kane gets injured first game, then in our squad, we need to make sure we've got some options because we've not got another Harry Kane, that's for sure. No one's got a Harry Kane.
Yeah. So I see Dominic Calvert-Lewin as the perfect replacement and understudy for Kane. So the way that Kane plays for Spurs at the moment is probably not going to work for England, especially if you're playing with a number 10 or playing with Grealish, Mount, or Madison.
Sort of tell me what you mean by the way he's playing for Spurs at the moment.
So I mean dropping off and playing in that space between the midfield and attack, and I think that would, the way that I'd expect us to play with the amount of midfield talent that we have, it wouldn't really make sense to have Kane dropping in to be a playmaker. I'd expect him to be the focal point in attack with the runners alongside him and Sancho, Rashford, Sterling, whoever's playing. So with that in mind, I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin gives you that, everything you mentioned, aerial ability, can hold up, etc., etc. And let's not forget that he started off playing out on the wing, and this is really his kind of first full season showing that he can play that role as the central focal point up front, and he does so better than Rashford when he's been playing that central position for Man United. So I'd see him as that cover for Harry Kane should, disaster strike and we lose him early in the tournament.
Yeah. Okay, so Calvert-Lewin going in then, lads.
Yep, okay. Happy with that.
Let's put him in. So as it stands, we've got 2 spaces in our squad left. Is there anyone you guys want to make a claim for? Each of you?
I think it looks a little bit light at at centre back cover, and on the basis if we're not taking Henderson, then I'd make a case for Dyer based on he can slot in, potentially as centre back.
Not had a
or
great
mid.
not had a great season by any stretch, and not picked
Yeah,
every
not had a
week.
great season, but he's an experienced head in there, right? He's got a lot of caps. He's got a lot of good tournament experience. He's level-headed.
Level-headed. Well,
He's
Eric
got some
Dyer.
big goals.
I don't know about that, mate.
in terms of in and around the squad, I think as an influence, and he's scored some big goals for England at tournaments. He's scored some set pieces as well, so he kind of mitigates that James Ward-Prowse leaving out. It just feels a little bit light at defensive mid/centre back, and he could potentially fill in both those places as well as bring experience into the squad, and probably make a case for him on that basis.
Interesting. Mus, what do you think of that?
Yeah, so I agree. We're light in that area, and I think on account of there being room, I would in this case take Henderson over Dyer. I think he's the more reliable alternative. Has shown that he can drop into defence.
Also a proven winner, by the way, Henderson. He's got trophies in his cabinet, whereas Dyer.
Yeah, I've noticed you've. There's not a lot of Tottenham players here who had to do Harry Kane. No Dele Alli, Winks.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously not going to make it in if they're not getting into a Spurs team that's playing in the Europa League and sitting in 8th in the division. Why are they getting into the team? We're talking about the players that are making a name for themselves. And I've got this list of players from Sky Sports, just handheld up. So it's not biased at all. I went and got this list of players and who they thought were the main people in contention. So Henderson and or Dyer then. Is there anyone else that you'd be a bit gutted leaving out, if we took both of those?
So I would just say, we've forgotten he hasn't even made it onto this list, and that's one of the generational talents that has been a key part of the World Cup squad and the Nations League squad, and that's of course Jesse, aka Messi Lingard. So let's not, he can still make a late run for the squad. But no, otherwise, I think this is really the core. I think someone like Joe Gomez would have been, again, one of the first names on the team sheet, but he's just out of the reckoning. I think Ross Barkley has really tailed off. So again, that's kind of one less option in midfield to consider. Maybe Reece James, let's sneak him on.
So, I sense that you guys this has been very civilized between you two. I must say, it's the most civilized episode of EPLW we've ever had. I think are we looking at Rice and Henderson, chucking them in and maybe putting James on the reserve list, or
Dyer and Henderson.
Dyer and Henderson in?
Yeah, I mean, they're quite similar, aren't they? I think we definitely need to have one. Do we need to have both?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Mus, you go Henderson over Dyer. I don't have an issue with that. Take Henderson, I think, and then let's have a look at the last spot, I guess.
Yeah. So okay, let's pop Jordan Henderson in there. I hope he's not watching because he'd be very disappointed.
It's scraping into the squad.
Yeah. So here's the list of players that we've left. There's one space left in our squad so far. Who's going to take it? Mason Greenwood, Tammy Abraham, Danny Ings, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Harvey Barnes, Patrick Bamford, Ollie Watkins, Jamie Vardy. If we can drag him out of retirement, we can. Or is it going to be more of a defensive player? Luke Shaw currently not in the team. Eric Dyer not in the team. Kieran Trippier not in the team. Reece James being left out. Aaron Wan-Bissaka left out. James Tarkowski left out as well. These are big players with England caps. Who takes the last spot, Mus, in your eyes?
I'd go with Reece James over any of these guys. Reece James closely followed by Harvey Barnes, but I think we've got a lot of cover in midfield.
We've got a lot of cover at right back as well, haven't we? We've got Alexander-Arnold and Walker there. That's what you guys agreed on. Why would you take 3 right backs to a tournament?
I don't know. I know, yeah, but you know what? I feel like he's earned his position. It's not his fault that we are incredibly well stocked in that position, and I think the experience of a tournament will do him the world of good. But yeah, that's just me.
So you'd leave Wan-Bissaka at home. Imagine being Aaron Wan-Bissaka if he saw our squad. He's like, you're taking 3 right backs, and I'm not one of them. Ronan, who's
not Trippier as well? Actually, yeah, it's hard there, isn't it?
Trippier be crying into his Madrid hotel room.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the forward players, thinking, is there another we could sneak in? But Hudson-Odoi or Barnes.
I think what we're looking at here is who's going to provide us with that X factor. You know, you need that unknown quantity in a squad, don't you? And you know, we've got a lot of good players. We've got a lot of creative players here. We've got some good, solid defensive players. But who is the player that is going to provide that little surprise? Because there's always a surprise in the England squad at a tournament, and you know, whether it's a young
it's probably
player.
Bellingham, though, is it? To be fair,
Bellingham.
Probably Bellingham that we've. Yeah, I'm not sure if any of those left that we're debating is going to be a difference maker, really. I think it's just about what who do we need to give us the best sort of coverage. Yeah, I mean, I don't dislike putting Reece James in there as well. In terms of the adaptability to the formation, he's played on the right for Chelsea, on the right side of midfield. He's not just purely a right back. I think he can do something a bit different. But if we're taking someone else, I'm not against taking Reece James.
Interesting. Okay. So let's have a quick look. I'm just looking at my thing, and I haven't got. Right, we've got Trent Alexander-Arnold. We've got Kyle Walker. So we're going to be left with 3 actual centre-backs in Stones, Maguire and Mings. And, Walker, like you say, can fill in. But say, we can't just take 3 centre-backs to a tournament, can we, lads? You'd rather take 3 right backs.
It's a fair shout. You've got 3 right backs, right?
Yeah.
No, I think that's a fair shout. Yeah, I mean, the other options we've got Connor Cody,
Michael Keane, Eric Dyer,
yeah,
Tarkowski. You need that cover. So who's it going to be? I'm against taking 3 right backs personally. If you want to put James in and take one of the others out, great. But if you go on,
I mean, just to say, Roz has made the very valid point in the comments just now that Rice, Henderson, also Dyer, and also Kyle Walker can all slot in. So that's kind of the beauty of the squad, that you have enough versatility.
But Roz also said in the comments, 3 right backs. Are you crazy or something like that?
No, tries to ignore that. But yeah, no. If we did need another centre back, I think Michael Keane would offer good balance.
What do you reckon, Ronan? Who should be our last one in?
Yeah, I mean, previously I'd have said Dyer just because we didn't have that coverage in midfield, but now we kind of have with Rice and Henderson both there. Michael Keane, yeah, I mean, I don't think he'll play, but it's no harm to have centre back coverage, right? If there's injuries, so I could go with that. It's him or Cody, right?
Yeah, I mean, Cody does offer a threat in terms of the long ball. He's a great long passer of the ball, whereas Keane's more of a kind of standard sort of ball playing defender. What would you whose summer would you more like to ruin? Because being that 23rd man in the squad and you don't play, and you probably won't play, it does, and that's kind of why Vardy retired, wasn't it? Because he sat there in the semi-final against Croatia in the World Cup, and watched Harry Kane like limping around the pitch, and he's sitting there like a coiled spring, and he couldn't get on, and there was basically no point in him being there. I mean, who would you rather do that to, Cody or Keane? Or my vote would be Eric Dyer, obviously, but
I'd take Cody over Keane, probably.
Yeah, and Mus.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with that.
You guys are so agreeable. It's boring. Right. Never mind. Connor Cody over Michael Keane is what Roz says in the comments because he's a top lad. Oh no, for his ball playing qualities. So do we agree on that, Connor Cody?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I'll bang him in, and then I'll talk us through the 23 quickly. And while I'm doing that, I want you guys to think of your 11. So your starting 11 out of this squad of 23. Okay. So here's our England squad for 2020. Jordan Pickford, Nick Pope, Dean Henderson in goal. We've got John Stones, Harry Maguire, Tyrone Mings, Connor Cody, Kyle Walker, Ben Chilwell, Trent Alexander-Arnold as defenders officially. Bukayo Saka into our midfielders officially again. Declan Rice, Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham, Jack Grealish, Mason Mount, James Maddison and Jordan Henderson. And then our forwards, Jadon Sancho, Raheem Sterling, Marcus Rashford, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Harry Kane. So, starting 11. I don't know if you're sort of noting it down or you've noted one down already. What's your starting 11 here? Is it, either of you ready to do this?
Should we go what position by position? Or?
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, goalkeeper, it's probably one of the tougher ones, isn't it? I think. Yeah, I mean Pickford's got more mistakes in him, hasn't he? But he's been not for England. He's been solid for England. He's got tournament experience. He's won penalty shootouts. I'd stick with Pickford over Pope.
Okay, Mus.
I'd go Pickford as well.
Okay, and so defences then. Let's look at defences. Ronan, you said you were favouring a back four. Who's your back four?
Yeah, I think I'd go. Look at right back now. I think I want James back in. I'd go Alexander-Arnold. Probably Stones, Maguire, Chilwell.
Mus, do you agree with that or something different?
I'd put Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back. Otherwise, yeah, agree.
Yeah, cool. So you agree then completely. That's what you said, wasn't it, Ronan? Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back.
Alexander-Arnold, yeah.
So far you guys are agreeing Pickford, Alexander-Arnold, Stones, Maguire, Chilwell. Or Maguire, yeah. Stones, Chilwell. By the by. Right, midfield. How many's in your midfield and who are they, Ronan?
I'd go. So I'd go Declan Rice, holding, and then I'd put Mount and Grealish in.
So what? Mount is an 8, Grealish is a 10 kind of thing.
Yeah,
Rice is a 4.
Exactly.
So a midfield 3. Mercy,
yeah, exactly.
Is it hard? Can you? Is it hard to look past that? What would you?
Well, I was going to say Grealish, Rice, Foden. So inverted wingers, Grealish on the left, Foden on the right, and Rice in the holding.
Okay, sorry. Talk us through that again one more time. Sorry. Grealish, Rice, and Foden.
Yep.
Right. So Rice, sort of on his own centre mid, with Grealish and Foden inverted, like inside forwards.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I'm going to come straight to you now, Ronan, unless you had something to add.
Yeah, no, I'd put Foden in, but I was thinking a little bit further up. I think Mount gives a little bit more of a centre mid balance there. Mount and Rice, they have grown up together, right? They played through the whole, Chelsea academy together. Grealish as well. But I wouldn't leave Foden out. I'd just have him a little bit further up.
So what, you'd have Foden as part of your front 3, presumably?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and that would be Kane and
Sterling or Sancho, depending on form, really. I think Sterling, historically kind of deserves his place. He's played fantastic for England the last few years, but I wouldn't be against dropping him and going for Sancho if Sancho's on form at that point.
Yeah. Mus, what about your forward line? How does that look?
So my forward line is Sancho, Kane, Sterling, and I appreciate that's a very attacking lineup, and in reality, against top teams, that's not going to work, and we'll need more solidity in midfield. But given you said go with what you want, Mus, I've gone for the most attacking formation. I could
Yeah,
think of.
exactly. Yeah. Wouldn't have it any other way. Okay, well there you go. There's our England squad of 23, and there is our starting lineups. And I mean, safe to say it must be nailed on, guys, because I think we haven't gone far wrong here, have we? I think we've got it.
You mean the tournament?
Well, no, I mean like in terms of our squads, I think we've nailed it. Like I don't think we need to worry too much about who we've left out. You know, even though there's going to be a few tears from the likes of Luke Shaw and Aaron Wan-Bissaka, they'll be telling you that Man United are the second best team in the country this season, and they've been starting every game. Why are they out? But you know, by the by, we've got a solid squad. And how would this squad fare in the tournament, Ronan?
He's got a good shot. You know, I think let's just go for it, right? We've got some great young attacking players. Let's just get them out there and go for it. You know, there's no point holding back now, right? Everyone wants a little bit of excitement this summer. It's been a tough year. Let's just get our attacking players on the pitch and let's do it. You know, I like you know, Mus said earlier that, you know, this team's got a good, you know, camaraderie. A lot of them have grown up together, and a lot of them have won stuff together at underage, you know, both domestically together and international tournaments as well. So, you know, they've got a good pedigree. Let's go for it.
Fair enough. Mus, do you reckon we've got what it takes to win the delayed Euro 2020?
Well, Joe, you know, you call me Professor Witty not just because of the puns, but because of my modelling of large amounts of data, and I've looked at performance at the previous two tournaments. So a fourth place finish in 2018, a third place finish in the Nations League the year after. So that's an upwards trend. So we're either going to finish second or first this summer. And if you or the viewers haven't watched the highlights of the third place playoff of the Nations League, because I never bothered to watch the game because I thought, you know, third place playoff, you know, doesn't really matter that much. But it was like looking into an alternative universe, you know, where England won on penalties and, you know, we're on the podium and so on. So I just feel like, yeah, we're in with a chance. And we're in it, you know, I feel like the England squad are kind of in a similar position to Belgium and Spain even, you know, really talented squads with managers that aren't really proven at club level and are young and maybe aren't kind of the best managers to get the best out of those squads. So it's up for grabs, and I hope we can do it.
It's interesting, isn't it? I hope is Southgate the man to take us there? No, fair enough. Ronan, what do you reckon?
Yeah, well, I think we can do it. You know, there's no team that, you know, really stands out at the moment. You know, Belgium have had a good team for the last few years, but again, they've come up short a lot of times. There's no reason to be scared of them. France, you know, the last World Cup they were phenomenal. They got some great players as well, but again, you know, I think we were off the pace last time, but this squad looks a lot stronger than the 1-2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, no reason to be afraid. I think we can do it.
Roz in the comments, controversially, between us, Holland, Portugal, and Spain, he thinks. So he's not even factoring in the Frances and the Germanys of this world, which is an interesting one. But we're going to win it, so it doesn't matter, right? England are going to win the Euros. Yeah, it's coming home, right, Mus? Right, guys, thanks for joining me tonight. This has been interesting. Hopefully, when we come to review this in a few months' time, when the actual squad is picked, it will be exactly the same, and we'll be hailed as experts, and we'll have loads of followers and subscribers and all sorts. And yeah, people will be clamouring to come on the show. We'll be doing interviews with Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and you'll have to justify to him why he didn't get in the squad, you know. But yeah, let's leave it there for tonight. We'll park this one, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Remember, you can subscribe to this channel if you like what you're seeing, and allow notifications to make sure you never miss one of our fantastic live streams. You can join us on Saturday morning for the EPL Game Week preview, and then on Sunday at 6:30 p.m. for the main show. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. We have been EPLW. Thank you, Mus.
Cheers.
Thank you, Ronan.
Cheers, Joe.
And thanks a lot. See you next time, people.